The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on Tom's Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of Tom's Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition, or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable.
Good evening and welcome to the Hoffman Law Show on Tom's Radio. My name is Jennifer Hoffman. I am your host. I am also the principal lawyer of Hoffman Law, a law firm that specializes in personal injury and disability law. And what we like to do on this show, typically every week, is invite guests and lawyers from various areas of law to talk to us about their practice areas and what's happening in areas such as employment law, wills and estates, immigration law, and of course, personal injury and disability. Today, as most of you listeners probably know, unless you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, today the government of Ontario has rolled out the mandatory vaccine passports for certain areas, certain public places. And so I thought that this would be a good opportunity to devote today's show to speaking about, the effect of COVID on numerous areas of law, specifically with respect to disability law and its effect on people's ability to work or not work, and of course the role of vaccines and mandatory vaccinations in the workplace. So the first part of the show, we'll discuss a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of people being unable to work as a result of COVID-related issues, be it medical issues, psychiatric issues, physical issues, and how that's impacting issues such as long-term disability. And then later on in the show, we're going to have a special guest, Catherine Marshall. She is a employment lawyer, and she's going to be speaking to us about how COVID and mandatory vaccines have impacted issues related to people returning to work. She's going to discuss some of the obligations that employers have and some of the obligations that employees have, and how we balance out those obligations and people's rights. So today should be a very interesting show. It's all about COVID, and although it wasn't planned this way, it's serendipitous and quite coincidental that it happens to be also the day that Ontarians are now required to show IDs and vaccine passports in various public places. And so, it's quite fitting that we're devoting today's show to discussing COVID, the effects of COVID, and what we expect to see moving forward given these new vaccine passports that are being rolled out. So we are going to take a quick commercial break, and when we get back, I will give you a bit of an overview on what we've been seeing in the personal injury bar, in the disability bar, with people who are struggling to return to work due to COVID-related issues.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration matters. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results you want, to helping you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.
Good evening and welcome back to the Hoffman Law Show. As I mentioned earlier, today's show is devoted to speaking about COVID-related issues and vaccines and the mandatory passports that have been rolled out today in Ontario, and how any COVID-related issues is impacting people's ability to work, people's ability to return to work, and what we're seeing and expecting to see in terms of long-term disability applications. And then later on in the show, we'll be talking about the obligations of employers and employees and how COVID has impacted employment law and what we expect to see in the future. As I mentioned earlier, and for those of you who know, I am the principal lawyer of Hoffman Law, and one of the areas that we really specialize in is long-term disability. And long-term disability are benefits that are available to people who have these policies, often through either work or they may have purchased these policies personally. But these are policies that will pay out benefits to compensate individuals who are unable to work due to a disability. So it's essentially a way to replace your income if you're injured or you have a medical condition that prevents you from being able to work. And it's far, far more complicated than that, and every policy is different, and every approach to the policy is different. But for the most part, that's what long-term disability benefits and policies are for. And so one of the things that we're seeing now in my area of practice in disability law, probably not surprising at all, is that aside from the immediate effects of COVID on one's health, and I mean in terms of the actual acute stage of the disease, where they're flu-like symptoms, some people are ending up in hospitals. So once we're past that stage, what we're seeing is that COVID is actually impacting people's psychological and emotional well-being, and it's not surprising. But the effect that COVID has had on our mental health has been so significant that we're starting to see that it's impacting people's ability to work. Even in areas where people do have the availability of their work, we're seeing more and more people struggling to return to work, struggling to keep up with their work, struggling to manage with work. And it's because they've developed peripheral issues as a result of what we're dealing with as a society with COVID. So what we're seeing is a massive uprise in mental health issues, and be it in people that have either been patients and have suffered from COVID, or people who are just impacted by the psychological consequences of this terrible pandemic. And so a lot of more people are now trying to access their long-term disability benefits, and it remains to be seen how psychiatric and psychological issues related to COVID are going to be treated by the insurance companies when people apply to get long-term disability because they have heightened anxiety or heightened depression. Um, if you're in a position where you feel that you do have some sort of psychiatric, emotional, mental health condition that is impacting your life, impacting your ability to work, it is really, really important that you contact a lawyer immediately. You can always reach us, 416-631-0000. I'm at extension 1, or find us at hoffmanlaw.ca, and we'd be happy to speak with you and to give you a free consultation. But I can't stress enough how important it is to contact a lawyer as early as possible. What a lawyer will be able to do is guide you through the process. The application process for long-term disability and the approval process could be complicated. There are various medical documentations that are required. Insurers want to see all of your diagnosis. They want to know about prognosis. They want to know if you've gone to any specialists, so on and so forth. And they could be asking for lots of documents on an ongoing basis, and often when you're struggling with emotional difficulties, those it's difficult to keep up with the demands. And so if you speak with a lawyer early on, the lawyer can help give you guidance, provide guidance, assist you with submitting the documentation that you require to obtain long-term disability. It is, and that increases your chances of being approved. It is even more important and more critical that you contact a lawyer immediately if you are going to be denied benefits. And now what we anticipate is a much larger number of applications for long-term disability for people who are struggling with mental health conditions related to COVID or rising out of the situation. And we also expect to see far more denials from insurance companies who did not predict that this was going to happen. And so we anticipate that insurance companies moving forward are going to be far more strict and stringent on the way that they're applying the rules, and they are going to give far more denials for LTD benefits. And now, just because an insurance company denies your claim, that doesn't mean that that denial is legal. In fact, in most cases, when an insurance company denies long-term disability, it's not done in a lawful way or based on lawful grounds, and they're just hoping that the person who got denied is just going to give up and go back to work, and then they're off the hook to pay these benefits. I strongly, strongly urge you to contact us if you're in a position where your long-term disability benefits have been denied for any reason, be it physical impairment, physical injury, psychological injury, psychiatric conditions, medical conditions. Give us a call immediately if you've been denied. But particularly in denials that involve, or applications rather, that involve psychiatric and emotional and psychological difficulties, it is very, very important that you set the foundation for a successful application. And in the case of a denial, that you set the foundation for a successful lawsuit of the insurance company who's denying your benefits. And one of the most critical components of that, when there is a psychiatric condition that's preventing someone from work, is to make sure that you have the proper medical documents to build your case and to support your claim for emotional difficulties. We're seeing far more people being diagnosed with depression, far more people being diagnosed with anxiety. We anticipate that many people will come out of this with post-traumatic stress disorder of some sort. OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder with respect to germs and bacteria and just the way they operate and walk through their day-to-day lives. So it's quite possible that moving forward, these claims for benefits arising out of issues such as OCD, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, etc., are likely going to be denied unless there's a very, very strong foundation to support the diagnosis, and more importantly, a very strong foundation to support that due to this condition, the person is unable to work. And that's really important, because just because an individual gets diagnosed with a condition, that doesn't automatically prevent them from being able to work. And so you have to establish that this condition is impacting your life, is impacting your ability to go to work, oftentimes impacting your ability to focus, concentrate, etc. So again, I want to remind our viewers that if you've been denied long-term disability benefits for any reason whatsoever, and particularly nowadays with the rise in emotional difficulties related to COVID, don't wait to call a lawyer. Contact us, free consultation, www.hoffmanlaw.ca or 416-631-0000 extension 1, and we'll help navigate you through the system. We're going to take a quick commercial break and get back soon.
Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results to help you understand what actions we can take on your behalf. Our company is committed to providing truthful, honest, competent, and result-oriented service through advising and representing our clients in Canada and overseas in a wide range of immigration. We focus on providing support, building dependable relationships, and promoting success. We are dedicated to understanding what results to help you understand what actions we can take on your behalf.